afternoon, everyone, and welcome to all in the chamber and those that are listening online. I don't know, but most people are probably aware that this week is Reconciliation Week, and I'd just like to pay my respects. And last week we did as councillors, a Aboriginal cultural awareness session, and I thought that one of those aspects was actually to write our own acknowledgement to country, and I won't take total rights on this. The Mayor, who sends his apologies, also assisted in this, so I'll do the acknowledgement of country that we wrote last week. As we meet here today on unceded lands of the Palawa people, we acknowledge the elders past and present, and that they have been here always. We further show respect to the ways that they have connected with the skies, land and waterways, both emotionally and spiritually, as we look to continue to learn from their deep cultural history. We also acknowledge any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders people here with us today. Thank you very much. Apologies today. We have Councillor Dawkins and the Mayor. Our apologies. Councillor Pentridge is not with us, but I haven't received an official apology from him. Are there any declarations of interests any members of the council need to declare? If not, we'll move on. Council confirmation of minutes. Would somebody like to move the confirmation of the minutes from last meeting? Councillor Harris moving, seconded Councillor Palmer. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Council workshops report on the 16th of May and the 23rd of May. I just note there are a couple of amendments that need to be made. It had me present at the pre-council workshop conducted on the 16th of May 2024, where in fact I was an apology. And on the workshop dated 23rd of May 2024, it records Councillor Raza and myself as being absent, and we actually were present. So if we could just amend that, thank you. Councillors' workshop report. Would somebody like to move that? Thank you, Councillor Gibson. Seconded, thank you, Councillor Britton. Would like to speak to the motion, Councillor Gibson?
Thanks, Acting Mayor. Yes, just briefly, specifically would like to thank those members of the community that went to the trouble to provide consultation response pertaining to this year's budget. It was wonderful to receive a significant increase in the number of submissions that were received, and councillors had the opportunity at the workshop last week to work through those, and indeed there will be some changes reflected hopefully in the budget that comes for ratification to councillors, but indeed those formal responses will also be included on that day also. But really wanted to thank those members of the community that went to some effort and provided, in some cases, very lengthy, detailed budget submissions, which I know elected reps certainly appreciated. It's not just a tick-a-box activity. It's something that we really recognise and regard and will take note of, certainly if not in the budget, in the months that follow. And similar to your words, the Aboriginal cultural awareness training undertaken, half-day Aboriginal awareness training, was absolutely outstanding. To welcome Dwayne Everett-Smith to our council and to be able to undertake that level of engagement, noting of course that we have relationship with all members of and differing organisations in the Aboriginal community, but on this occasion to have that facilitated training was outstanding. And I really want to thank Nindara for the work that she's undertaken in getting us to this stage with our Aboriginal Partnership Plan. It seems to me that the work that she's done, together with others, of course, across the organisation, is outstanding, and she should be very proud of what's being achieved in that space.
Thank you, Chair, and likewise to my previous speaker, I would speak to that issue that has come before us in the workshop regarding Aboriginal cultural awareness training for Launceston Council. Indeed, it is an important time of year for Launceston City Council when rates are being struck, when we are talking about UTAS stadium transfers, and we are also talking about Aboriginal cultural awareness training. The Aboriginal Partnership Plan has come to fruition over a period of 4 or 5 years on this council of council being committed to building a relationship, an ongoing relationship with the Aboriginal community. It is something that takes time, not just for council, but for the community more broadly. And I think that council are showing leadership in this area where we have to get beyond any notions of us versus them or differences between cultural groups, but to a point where there is an embracing of the different cultures in our community. Of course, not just the Aboriginal community, but the broader cultural groups in our community, and that we take steps to visually show that as well, to not just talk about it. And so that's what came out of that cultural awareness, I think, is those visible signs that we can make that let people know that we are aware and that we are conciliatory and indeed encouraging of those cultural connections that we can build. So anything that we can do in that regard will be, I'm sure, firmly supported. And as I mentioned, ongoing talks about the UTAS stadium transfer and the always difficult task of striking rates and talking about a yearly budget, which is, I know, been given some media coverage recently, and I look forward to Launceston Council releasing its deliberations and letting the community know that we are working diligently towards, not only, as we do run in deficit, not only addressing that, but addressing the longer term plans and needs for our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Walker. Any other speakers? Councillor Raze?
I really enjoyed the session about Aboriginal culture because I thought it was so educational. I learned so much about our Aboriginal people in Tasmania or Lutruwita and the way they lived for 1,000 years, and to my surprise, but the way they migrated, how they moved from place to place to follow on their food, and that how they communicated with other clans in the neighboring and how they stayed there with their permission. And I thought a lot of things we don't know about it and how it should be, all our, even our kids at school should know about this rich culture of our Aboriginal people. And the highlight for me was just sitting down with Councillor Dawkins to try to write the welcome of the countries and to stand up as well and say it in front of everyone. It was like really very pleasing for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other speakers? If not, we'll put the motion. All those in favour? Councillor Raza, are you with us? Hands up. Thank you. All councillors present. Thank you. We now move on to questions on notice. Just acknowledge the responses that have been made by the officers, but I just did want to make a couple of comments. I do take exception to a couple of the context notes that Mr Norman has made in regards to statements that he makes that deeming to be facts which are not, given the ongoing reports from citizens and ratepayers that suggest a number of things. I think you need to put facts and evidence to provide that, and comments like council's predisposition to impose punitive measures. I don't think there is a predisposition. We have rules and we follow those rules and we deal with our people appropriately. So I just wanted to make those comments because I think if you're going to make a context statement, you need to actually support it with actual evidence. We now move on to questions without notice, and I think we have a number of people in the room who are going to speak, noting the rules were actually outlined outside the chamber. So please, when you stand up to the microphone, if you could just put your name, say your name and address, so that's there for recording. So I'm not sure, I don't have a list of the people that are speaking, so you may like to work out your order and speak in turn.
Jason Brown, branch manager of Lawrence and Hanson in Launceston, located 25 Frederick Street. Just wanted to come today to, I guess, make aware some of the activities that are happening in the street of late. It's becoming more and more prominent and is now highly concerning. I start work quite early myself. I'm usually working anywhere between 5:30 and 6 a.m. To be greeted with consuming of illegal substance and alcohol of a morning. As I go to work, there's a group of people loitering in the same area, and it's not a good look, and it's not safe for locals as people jogging of a morning, and they've got to go around that. There's just so many points, which I'll leave a list on the way out. I can touch on some of these points. There's bad language all day, broken glass, antisocial behaviour, especially when it's raining. A lot of people loitering under our undercover area, which is also posing a risk for I will say, homeless people as well. It's starting to become really unsafe for public, community and themselves. So I just wanted to bring that to attention. I don't feel comfortable going to work myself. I really don't.
So your question is, what's council doing about it?
Yeah, so I've got a list, which will be obviously you can't stand here now and go, what is council going to do? Yep. But I can ask, what can council do and what will council do? Obviously, I can't expect an answer now, yep, but I'll leave the list.
Yeah, thank you very much. And we were alerted to some issues down there, so thank you for that, sending that to us, and we look forward to reading your list and responding to you appropriately.
Perfect, thank you.
My name is Gavin Brooks, and I'm the proprietor of Engine Recon Parts at 42 to 44 Frederick Street in Launceston. I know Jason and everybody in this room reasonably well. We're all business owners from the same area. It's not so much a question, it's just reiterating on what Jason's gone through over the past few years, and it is increasingly getting unacceptable, extremely unacceptable, both by us, the police, and everybody involved. The harassment we're constantly receiving from my staff and customers, the security costs that we are having to amount to provide safety for our staff and customers and neighbours, the loss of income by people loitering around on our private property in our car park, and people are not unable to come in because we're an engine reconditioner and they have quite heavy engine parts, and they can't get into the car park to drop them off, so they'll go down the road to the opposition. The cleaning and the damage, and there are ladies in the room, and I'm really not sure how to say, but they're publicly using our private property as a public toilet, and it's not rare. It's constantly. It's every morning we are washing things. The antisocial behaviour is completely unacceptable. It is unsafe for staff and the public, the way they sit on the footpath. And and there are people, and I know, talking to people that people park down the brickfields, walk in the city centre, they cannot walk up Frederick Street, that particular part of Frederick Street. And this is, as a direct result, I can sugarcoat, I can say it's caused by the clients, if you like, that are coming from City Mission. And we've just had enough. Collectively, we've had enough, and we please ask the council to do something about it. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I'm just speaking to the acting CEO. He's prepared to facilitate a meeting with us and Taspol, with the members of your community down there, to try and work something out, maybe down at the location, and walk through the issues.
Thank you. Very much appreciated.
Hi, I'm Ronnie Legg. I run Ron's Automotive in Frederick Street, 48A. I'm going through more or less the same sort of thing, but I'm having customers getting abused on the way out, won't come in to the workshop, actually having to go through the back way to come into the workshop. I'm getting myself getting abused by them as well. They're going to the toilet on my doorstep. It's just getting worse and worse, and this year it's gotten a lot worse. They've actually put on security guards outside the City Mission to try and calm them down a little bit, but they're going up to the park after they're leaving the city mission, and they're allowed to drink up there, and then of course coming back into Frederick Street and leaving rubbish and causing havoc. And I'm not even game enough to let my daughter walk to the supermarket now. It's just getting beyond a joke, and I was wondering if you could probably do something about it.
Yeah, well, thank you. And I say, I certainly empathise with what you're all saying, and we will cause an action meeting to happen so that we can actually work out a way forward.
Yeah, thank you.
My name's Michelle Calder. I work for Jimmy's Property Management, so I am there on the face of it. So our cleaners pick up needles, they pick up dirty clothes, same stuff as that. Jimmy has spent $12,000 in private security since October of last year to enable these people to be able to come to work and park their car in our car park. When I get there of a morning, same thing on the Launceston Hanson fence, which we can't do anything about because it's not on our private property. So our security guards patrol randomly up there because that's really all we can afford. As I say, we've spent $12,000 to make people safe. We've had people no longer come to the complex for the same reasons. They're too frightened to get out of their car. They're too frightened to bring their children. It's at the stage, the car park itself is safe on some occasions. If I withdraw the security, we will go back to exactly the same thing that this is. We cannot, it's coming, as I say, I believe it's coming from the City Mission. It's frightening, it's scary, and we as a collective really need some help up there.
Thank you. I fully appreciate your comments.
Hello, my name is Jesse Coombs of 33 Frederick Street. I'd just like to point out a couple of quick facts. Frederick Street is the most visited area in Tasmania by police, with an average of 35 times per day. And when you think about this, different places that have been known to be rough sort of areas from Rugby, Gagebrook, Rochalee, Ravenswood, Frederick Street now takes the cake. I ask, and I'll leave you guys a copy if you like, who is responsible for the problematic people that are loitering in the CBD, specifically to Frederick Street? Is it a council issue or is it a City Mission issue? I'm not sure whether $11 million and building a rehabilitation centre is really going to help this situation in Frederick Street. As we've all heard today about local businesses and this sort of thing, it's not a very nice place to be. I do have a small suggestion. If you spend $5 million on container homes for the homeless, people that actually need them, and put them out somewhere like Missiondale, you spent $5 million at a rate of $30,000 each per build. That's 166.66 homes that you could have for people, and you could make a difference. Everybody deserves help, but it shouldn't come at the cost of local business.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is John Carrington. I'm the Regional Manager for Coles in Tasmania, representing Charles Street at 198 Charles Street. So we have 55 team members at the store. The impact to the local community has been significant from a sales point of view for us as well. Obviously, we have team members within the store that are actually too nervous to start work in the morning and often are now requesting transfers to other stores in the area, which ultimately affects our sales, but also affects the ability of a local community to shop. We're actually looking at the moment as to whether we shut that store at 7 o'clock at night, but we have brought it back from 11 to 10, but we're actually looking at bringing it back even more now. We know we have a requirement as well to keep our team safe, so we do have intermittent internal security as well within the store, which is costing us considerably. And we're okay with obviously providing that for our team, but we're at to the point now we have to have, or we will have to have somebody in the store early in the morning to walk people into the store and then obviously walk them out at the end of the night because of the nervousness that it creates. But I guess it's also the perception of the customer coming into the centre as well, who's actually looking now at alternatives and doesn't want to shop at the Jimmy's complex. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
My name's Hayley Clifton, and I have a business called Body Focus, and we have two premises. One is right on the corner of Charles Street, and one is in the Jimmy's complex. And I have now staff that are too scared to come and leave on their own to come to work. And it's probably getting like to the point where we're now not starting early in the morning on our own. We're locking our door at night. I've got clients that come in that are often really worried when they park at certain areas. And it's really sad to see untreated drug, alcohol abuse right here outside our front door. And I know City Mission are doing an admirable thing by having and helping these people at night, but there's such a gap in services for these people, and we have to do better. This is not the Launceston I want to be part of, and my kids can't go to the supermarket at night. I wouldn't even want them to come back to work after school. I think I really want to know what the council are they aware that this is a problem? I know we've all come here today, but that is my question. And what is being done right now? I'd really like to know what you have been doing over the last couple of weeks. You said that you've known about this. And I feel like we need to link in as a community for the funding you get and how organisations work together and all see the chain of services of being a team to help this problem together, because I know people need a place to sleep, but just letting them go in the day and providing no treatment or help for what they have and no purpose, there's nothing to do there. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd just like to thank you all for... Oh, sorry. My apologies.
I'll just sort of add to it as well. My name's Tim Harb. We own 40 Frederick Street and live in it. We've only been there less than a year now. We knew by driving the area that there was an issue before we bought the property, but still it doesn't mean I have to accept it. People should be able to do something about it. The City Mission itself, I'm not sure if it's the location for it, to be honest. The house that we live in is 1840, built in 1840, historic home, and it's always been a private home, you know, so people have lived there all that time. And this is a new and modern issue. I only found out about this meeting this morning, so I'm not very well prepared. But in that short time since we've been living in this property, we've had the police around a few times. We've had damage done to our property. We've had human excrement on our property. We can smell the dope smoking from across the road. And it's just allowed to happen because of political correctness, I'm assuming. I mean, if any of us were doing it, we'd be in trouble, wouldn't we? So this area, it's a real shame, and it's a beautiful area. I think something can be done. I'm not sure if it's in council's power to do anything about it, but my wife, she enjoys walking our dog, and she goes out twice a day doing that. And of course, after work, it's dark, going through the park on the way home, sometimes quite loud, obnoxious, foul language, and you know, it's just not a nice environment to be in. A beautiful park. We love the Princess Square. We go through there every day to go to work. It's amazing to me that there's more money put to people who don't contribute to society and more taken from people who do contribute to society. And I think as a culture, we should be looking at that way of thinking, forget about political correctness, and just do what we think's right. You know, reward those who do well and the opposite for those who don't. These people don't care. The amount of times police have been around screaming violence, 5 o'clock in the morning, screaming foul language. Unfortunately, our bedroom's right at absolute street frontage, so we do hear a lot of it. So I just want to make my voice with the others and let everybody know that this beautiful city, which I love and invest in, I want it to be the best that it can be. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other speakers? If not, look, I'd just like to thank you all for coming in this afternoon. I think it's really good from councillors' point of view to hear what's going on the street from all of you, and we take the problem seriously, and we will sort of reach out to the police and meet with you, I guess, separately to this to see what can be done, because it's a multifaceted approach I think is going to be required. I don't think one organisation can deal with it on their own, but certainly acknowledge and accept all of the things that you've said and the passion, and I'm really concerned about your well-being, so keep safe for the time being, and we'll try to work with you to try and come up with a solution. So thank you. Item 9, announcements by the Mayor. They were circulated, I think, with the agenda. I would just add my voice to those to say that I actually attended many events of the Australian Musical Theatre Festival during the week post the last council meeting. I'd have to say the show 9 was a highlight for me, which was a play that was rehearsed within 3 days and then performed on stage, which was absolutely amazing with some of the greatest talent in the country that we have. I spoke at the Australian Garden History Society function on the 18th of the 5th. I opened the Australian Federation College Multicultural Festival in Charles Street on the 22nd of the 5th, and I visited the Tony Smybert Gallery at Mole Creek with the Friends of QV Mag last Monday on the 28th of the 5th. Any other councillors wish to have any reports? Councillor Harris.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm sure the people leaving, there's no reflection on your reporting of what you're up to. Yes, I filled in for the Mayor on Friday the 17th, deputised up at the East Launceston Bowls and Community Club at their annual awards and dinner, where they announced all their club champions. And I was thoroughly impressed by two things. One, the way that club has reinvigorated itself and become very much a modern club. They have more than 400 social members and certainly have a very lively atmosphere when you walk in the place. But also, I had to just acknowledge the hard work of the President and all the rest of the committee up there, and particularly the volunteers, because there are some volunteers who give over 1,000 hours a year to that one club in their service to the other members. And I think that's to be commended. So whilst it was great for those champions to win the various categories, to me the highlight of the evening was in fact talking or listening to the volunteers and how they have made such a difference to that club and what they do for their local community. And I guess that segues a little bit into the National Volunteer Week that ran from the 20th of May to Sunday the 26th of May. That's a National Volunteer Recognition Week. And I guess just to outline a couple of things I did as a volunteer, I attended my usual Rotary Readers program for grade 5 and 6 kids up at Ravenswood on Monday. On Tuesday, I was back at Ravenswood again, this time reading to the grade 1 and 2 kids to help them with their reading. On Friday, I attended, I drove a bus load of National Trust volunteers to a trip out to Clarendon Estate out near the Nile. These volunteers came from the old umbrella shop and also the Franklin House, where I am a council rep on the Franklin House Management Committee, just to tie it back into my council duties. Driving a bus wasn't necessarily part of my council role, but the fact that I have the appropriate licence meant that it saved them a bit of money on what they were doing. And on Sunday, I joined the Mayor, and in fact I was on the microphone out at the MS Society's walk, run and roll out in the UTAS precinct, where they had about 150 competitors compete in their events, raising about $18,000 for 33,000 or more Australians who every year suffer the debilitating effects of MS. And everyone's, I guess, response to MS is unique. And it was very pleasing to see. There was more than 20 volunteers helping make that event run as well. So I'd just like to tip my hat to all the volunteers out there. Thank you.
Thank you. Yesterday, on behalf of the Scholarship and Bursary Committee, I attended the UTAS Scholarship Thank You Morning Tea held at the Rivers Edge building at the Inverest campus. Our City of Launceston 2024 scholarship recipient is Tiara Gardner, and our bursary recipient is Lachlan Kingshot. I am extremely proud of our student Tiara for her accomplishments and dedication for her achievements under the complicated and difficult circumstances she has faced. Congratulations to all the recipients, including Angus, who was awarded the George Alexander Scholarship, who gave a fantastic, humorous speech. And a big thank you to all the sponsors, including Jackie and Thomas, whom I had the privilege to meet and learn that they have been funding the Larry Knight Memorial Scholarship for 17 years. And again, I'd like to congratulate our two amazing young students, Tiara and Lachlan. Well done. On Friday, the 17th of May, I attended the Historic Heritage Summit at the Tram Sheds in Vermey. Among the attendees is our own Council's Heritage Officer, Jess Horton, and our former Heritage Officer, Fiona Ranson. The room was filled with 120 people who were extremely passionate about Tasmanian heritage. It was a full day packed with presentations in the morning and lots of interactions and discussions after lunch. The conference was extremely well organised thanks to Tasmanian Heritage Council. Our City of Launceston Council Heritage Officer Jess Horton gave an excellent presentation on local heritage management. I was fortunate enough to be seated with a lady who is part of the Port Arthur Historic Site team and a gentleman from Hobart. He is a heritage architect and carpenter who is passionate about teaching young apprentices the skills and crafts, in his words, to use a hammer to restore rather than a nail gun to build new. Launceston is the third oldest city in Australia, and we are so lucky to have some of the most beautiful heritage architecture that tourists from all around the world come to see. We need to work together to educate, preserve and maintain Launceston's world-class attractions for our future generations. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Collyer. Lovely words. Any other councillors? All right, thank you very much. Now on to councillors' questions on notice. Councillor Gibson's is there. Any councillors' questions without notice? Councillor Harris.
Thank you, Mayor, Acting Mayor. And I have a couple of questions today, if I can. The first one is in regard to the bike centre, or the Transport and Road Safety Centre up at South Launceston. Can we be advised when that's likely to be finished, and more importantly, when the ratepayers can start to make bookings for functions to be held in the refurbished facility? Quite happy if these taken on notice, because I do realise that you weren't expecting them. The second one is about Oakden Park at Youngtown. For those listening, that's the area, the new area opposite Bunnings at Kings Meadows, where over the last few years more than 200 blocks have been sold, and just about that number of houses have now been built and occupied. Council has a reserve, a recreation reserve at Raglan Street, and my questions relate to that reserve. What activities are currently in our planning to be included in this reserve? For example, will there be a child's playground, room to kick a ball, a court to play basketball and or futsal on? Will there be walking and cycling pathways? Will there be trees to create shade for users and perhaps seats or a barbecue? My third question is, will a pedestrian and cycle access be provided along Connector Park Drive to provide a safe connection from the residents of Mount Pleasant subdivision to the Raglan Street Reserve? And finally, do we have a timeline on when the community consultation for this reserve might occur? More importantly, when the Oakden Park residents might be able to enjoy these new facilities?
I'll hand over to Acting CEO.
And I'll take them all on notice.
Thank you. Any other questions without notice? Councillor Walker.
Thank you, Chair, Acting Mayor. And my question goes further to the questions from the public without notice that we received today. And I do believe that there may have been questions in those little sessions that can be taken on notice, because currently our reply is only that we'll work with Tas Police and the residents or owners in the area. I do commend them for coming forward. I think that's a really important step. I do know that I have previously made councillors and staff aware of issues that are ongoing in the area. I do know also that City Mission has been approached by the people involved, so that they have made efforts on their own behalf to begin to try and address these issues. I'll try to make this into a question because I know it is a question without notice. My question is, in regards to your response, that we will get back to them, will those discussions include City Mission? Because I think that is important. We all appreciate and welcome the funding that they've recently been given that was quoted in those questions, but will Council, in the short term, include City Mission in those discussions, and in the long term, involve itself with City Mission's plans so that we can fabric an outcome that is beneficial for them as well as for the city?
Thank you. I think the answer is yes. City Mission would need to be part of that, but I'll allow Shane to make those comments.
So we are aware of the issue, and we have already engaged with City Mission and Tas Police on a number of occasions about it, and we're working with Tas Networks to improve lighting in the area. As I said, so we'll engage with Tas Police and the traders, whether that's the appropriate place for City Mission to come as well, but we will re-engage with City Mission and what their plans are.
Thank you. Any other questions without notice? Thank you. If not, then we'll move on to committee reports. Transport Committee meeting. There is a motion there that we on at the moment. Motion is the recommendation to receive the report from the Transport Committee. Recommendation the Council receives the report for the Transport Committee meeting held on Thursday, 2nd of May 2024. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Harris, a seconder. Councillor Britton. Councillor Harris.
Yes, thank you. You can read there what was covered. Of interest, perhaps, that might need a bit more discussion or information is the Denison Road one-way section. So that's the section that runs currently from Cambridge Street through to Corrin Street in a one-way direction heading towards Duck Ridge. There was a couple of options being presented to us as to how that road, which currently has issues with safety, particularly for the lack of footpaths and the number of people that walk their dogs in that area, and how that can be perhaps better, maintained, but improve the safety of the whole area of that particular part. And of course, the Launceston Transport Strategy too, which is that the next version is our 4-year version from 2024 through to 2028, which includes many of the carried over items from the previous one, including improvements to the off-road trail network. We note that the Foster Street Shared Pathway has funding as in due to start this year, but there are, of course, many other parts of that transport plan that we'll look forward to being implemented over the next 4 years. So that was really the report on that meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Britton. Any other councillors wish to speak? Thank you very much. Well, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? That's all councillors present. I think that's the end of today's meeting. So thank you everybody for coming. We'll close the meeting at 1:38. In fact. Yeah. So thank you very much for your attendance.